The relationship, you, White Yardie, how did that manifest? How did that start?
Um, Really simply, to be honest. One of my boys, DJ Loudmouth, shout out DJ Loudmouth. He used to put out those dancehall invasion CDs, one through like 350, however much he put out. He actually referred me to a lot of different social media up and coming people, and he's the one that first put White Yardie on my radar. And right away, I think probably the first or second video that I saw, I was like, yo, I'm gonna DM this guy. Hit him up, was in touch with his management for a while, and we were going back and forth. But after not very long, he just went around his management, hit me up directly, and the rest is history.
I love it, man. I love it. And I see the relationship, you know what I mean? It's a great relationship too. With this tour that's coming up, right?
Hmm.
What's the biggest thing you're looking forward to? Now I know we came out of pandemic, there wasn't really much going on, things like
Yeah.
that. Now everybody outside, what's the biggest thing you're looking forward with you, White Yardie, and everything you got going on?
Well, I'm looking forward to eating airplane food again. I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to just really being outside, bro. You hit the nail on the head, saying it's been a long time since we've been in lockdown in the entertainment world. Anybody in the entertainment world, a lot of industries were affected, but anybody in entertainment will definitely tell you that this was one of the lowest periods for us, especially in the background of entertainment. Because some artists were able to switch to platforms like this, platforms like Instagram Live, and there was some money to be made there, especially artists that had product for sale or something that like a couple artists were able to do some have their music stream, or sorry, not their music, rather their performances stream, and you can buy tickets to that or whatever. So there was an opportunity for some, but for a lot of us it was pretty, so it was difficult for a lot of us in the entertainment industry, and that's just being back able to make money in the way that I had prepared for a decade prior. It's exciting, man. That's the most exciting part for me, to be able to just back doing what I trained to do, what I prepared to do, what I studied to do, you know.
Before you get into this powerful content and this conversation, I need you all to do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button on the channel, because that's the best way you're going to stay up to date with everything that's going on. Like, share, comment, review, and let me know what's going on, people. Guys are going to be doing. I've seen a lot of just you promoting different things in the city and the surrounding area and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
why comedy for yourself?
I mean, comedy, it just natural and organic, what you call it, progression. I started off in DJing and promotion, ventured further into that, doing more concert promotion and dealing with some of the Jamaican artists, and being the first producer to bring some of those artists to Canada for the first time. And it's the very specific story that I tell is I tried to bring an artist by the name of Idonia to Toronto
Interesting.
several times. So the first time he came here, shout out my boy Muscle Two Line Music. He had brought him to a club called Rumors, which was just every Sunday night that he used to do that there, and everything was cool. The artist became a lot bigger, maybe 2 to 3 years later, and I had a party called Dancehall Fete where we were slated to do about 3,000 people for this artist, and he just didn't get his visa. This was the time where America was really putting the squeeze on Jamaica because they wanted Christopher Columbus. They were trying to get him to be extradited, and in doing so, they just took a lot of people's visas away without reason. Idonia was one of the people that had lost his visa during that period of time, and then a year later, a couple months later, we tried to bring him over, and that was causing a lot of complications where they're just like, well, why did you lose your visa? And there was no real answers, and yeah, it got sticky. So anyways, long story short, $50,000 lost later, and a bunch of wasted time and energy. I said, you know what, there has to be a better way. There must be something else that I can invest my time into. Sorry, that's what brought me to comedy exclusively. In between that, we had postponed, or we had kept people's tickets and saying we were going to do the show. So we postponed the show. The first time we tried to get him across and he couldn't get his visa. So we had a second show that we were in the process of planning, and my birthday fell in between those two shows. And I'm like, well, I can't hold a party, so I can't have these people's money tied up and then be like, hey, I'm going to do a party. Give me your money again. So I decided to do something that I wanted to do for a long time, which was a dinner and comedy. And I kept it smaller, and that was the beginning of it. So by the time we tried the second time and it didn't work out the second time, and then we lost the 50 grand and all that stuff, I was like, you know what? This comedy thing might be something to pursue a little bit further. And now we're here 12 years later, and I'm really in it now.
I love it. No, and I see all the great work that you're doing, right, in the city and stuff like that.
Thank you.
When you think about, and that's a little bit of history lesson for myself. Both my parents are Jamaican. I'm Jamaican. Also,
Okay.
right, and stuff like that. So to hear you bring that story about Idonia and stuff like that, I get it.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So, and I feel like parts of Canada sleeps on the dancehall scene a little bit.
Oh,
You
for
know what I
sure.
mean? And some of the talent that we could be bringing here,
Oh,
right?
for sure, for sure. And I think that what I was trying to accomplish in dance hall is the same goal that I'm trying to accomplish here in the comedy world, and that was putting the smaller artists on a bigger platform, trying to help them with better marketing, branding, putting them on, like, just basically have them have the same appearance as what the hip hop shows had, you know what I mean, and give them more attention in that kind of way. And that's the same thing I'm doing with the artists. Another one, big up Charlie Black. He's in the city. He's in Toronto right now, and he actually has a show tonight. He has a show tonight in well, I don't know when this is going to air, but tonight that we're recording it, and I was the first person to bring him to Toronto as an artist, and now he has 6, 7 Billboard hits and all this, and he's this huge international touring artist. But when I first worked with him, he played for a song called Bass Odyssey, and he just started to make his own music, and he had a couple songs at the time, and he was like super grateful for the opportunity to come across to Canada and work as an artist for the first time, because that transition was much like the social media guys have that little stigma when they came across to the big stage, where the stand-up guys are like, oh, well, you're funny for 15 seconds. I don't think you could be funny for 15 minutes, because 15 seconds was the time for Instagram videos back then. It was the same way. It was like, oh, you're a selector. How can you be an artist? Especially as he went to those same artists like Idonia and others to go get dub plates for his song. Now it's like, oh, you want to do what I do? Okay, let's see. So it was always like a kind of like an uphill battle, and that's why I really wanted him to do well as an artist, and why it's so proud for me to see how far he's come as an artist, because I like the underdog, man. You know what I mean? I root for the underdog at all times.
Everybody loves a good underdog
For
story,
sure.
Come on now, you know. I think it's the most important thing to see, you know, especially us as like Black content creators, entrepreneurs, doing what it is that we're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like there's people that root for us and they call us the underdog, but when they see us make it out the trenches, it's like it's rewarding. You know?
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
too.
anytime there's Tupac's quote, "The rose that grew from concrete." Anytime you have that scenario where something comes up where you thought that it couldn't survive, people will celebrate it. You know what I mean? And and especially when it comes from a genuine, honest place. That's where it breaks through a lot of hate, to be honest. Like, you might have certain stigmas about a person or a certain type of people or whatever, but when you see them kind of push past all the stereotypes and push past the barriers, it touches a human element in you that no matter what your prejudice might have been before, preconceived notions or whatever, it's kind of hard to be like, I just really like this guy.
No, dude, that's real rap right there. You speak my same tune, you know what I mean? So I get that. Yeah. When we think about this tour, back to the tour life, what can Canada expect? Because I don't know, you guys doing America also?
We're doing America. So this is the second of 3 legs of the tour. Yardie did the first leg of in UK on his own, and now we linked up to do the Canadian leg, which is just under 30 days. We have about, I think it's 16 shows. And then we'll be going off into America in the first quarter of next year. So that's the plan.
Okay, so what can everybody expect? Well, what are we expecting from Mr. White?
Well, having toured with him twice before, and this is the third one, you can definitely expect brand new material. That's for sure. Sometimes people go to see artists like back-to-back years, or even multiple years. Even you saw someone in 2010, you went to see them again in 2012, or you saw somebody 5 years ago, and now 2022 you go see them and you say, I heard a couple of these jokes already. Yardie is not an artist that you ever have to worry about that. We'll be driving to a show, something will happen, and later on I see him on stage and he's talking about the whole thing on stage and making like a 15-minute set. Like out of an hour of his material, all of a sudden 15 minutes is brand new from the drive over here. So
and you're probably sitting there
yeah. Like, you didn't do this last night. Like, so that's definitely something you could always expect from an artist like Yardie. He had 2 years cooped up in his house with his with nothing but time to reflect and write. So he has a lot to say, and it's called the Are We Done Yet tour, because there's been a lot of specials about COVID since COVID ended. The comedians came out talking about that, and Yardie is taking kind of like a different spin on it, where it's like, okay, can we move past this now? Like, are we still talking about this? Is the world back to normal? Are you still trying to put some restrictions on this, or what are the rules? You know what I mean? So it's like, it's not so much about what happened during COVID as it is about living in the world that we're in now and how we push forward, you know?
I know you guys are going all through all different cities, but what's that one city that you're really wanting to leave the flag?
Ooh, that's a good question. Leave the flag. Because why I say that's a good question is because a big goal of mine, which I spoke to Yardie about, and he agreed, was we fly in and out of every city so quickly that it has been difficult in the past for us to leave a real footprint in the city, especially because we don't advertise on radio or TV or any of the mainstream media. So it's like, you got to kind of follow White Yardie to know that he's coming to the city, and then you buy tickets. We do like a show of like, I don't know, let's say Edmonton, for example. We'll do a show of 300 people. It's very easy for us to fly in, do a sold-out show of 300 people, fly out, and have 99% of Edmonton never know that we were there, right? So what our big goal this time was, when we get into the city, let's get to work. Let's connect with these influencers. Let's make sure we hit up 1 and 2 media outlets. Let's try the food. We still don't have any more time, you know. It's still only 18 hours, 20 hours, 16 hours, whatever it is in the city that we're in. Probably, usually, like, if we land at like 10 a.m., we're usually flying out 8 a.m. the next day. So it's usually under 24 hours. But our goal is not just to go kick up in the hotel and rest before a show. It's like, hey, we got work to do before the show, and we got work to do at the show. We got work to do after the show. So I kind of primed him and prepped him for that level of commitment, and he even matched my commitment by flying out to Toronto last weekend, and he was here for 4 or 5 days just doing exactly that. We're doing media. We had a pop-up store where we sold some of the tour merch and all that. So he dedicated a whole 4 or 5 day period of his time that had nothing to do with comedy and only to do with promo and touching the city and being a part of the city. So he's already on the same page as me, and yeah, I think so. Sorry, to answer your question, that's for the whole tour. We'd be really into to really make it like plant the flag in every city and make sure that we worked with content creators in every city, so that way when we left the city, our content still existed there. It was like White Yardie was here, you know what I mean? So I think the place that would matter to us the most, probably Edmonton, to be honest. Edmonton's one of the bigger cities out there. Like, outside of Toronto, we do well in Winnipeg, which we've only done once before. But there's definitely some people out there. And Edmonton, Vancouver. I like Edmonton, though.
I like that. So you mentioned about promo not doing radio, because I feel like radio's kind of a little bit now. But now you have social media and like podcasts and stuff like that to do the promo.
Yeah.
Why not radio? Is it because radio is kind of on the way out, you feel, or is it just because you get better reach with social media?
Well, a lot. Okay, so a lot of it was time. Oh, so why don't we advertise on radio?
Yeah.
One particular radio station just turned me off working with all radio stations. I worked with radio for a long time. Radio helped me get to the place where I'm at right now, in terms of before social media was big, and when I was still trying to. Like I said, I'm a club and concert guy. I'd be out in the trenches, out in 2, 3 in the morning, handing out flyers in the freezing cold till my fingers fall off, and I was comfortable with that. Radio, spending the money, put me on a level to where when I was handing out the flyers in the freezing cold, people were like, "Oh, I heard about this," and they looked at me different. You know what I mean? They're like, "Oh, this is your thing." Like, it was like, it gave you credibility, right? And that is the root story for really amplifying my brand. When I started to spend a lot of money on radio, people in general started to look at my events very differently. And Fast forward 2 years, where social media ads is becoming a much bigger thing, or probably longer than that, maybe about 4 years into me starting with radio. Social media ads is starting to become a much bigger thing. I'm controlling my crowd a little bit better now because I'm selling online, and selling online means you get all the data that comes along with selling online. So I have an email list where I can directly contact my customer database. And I said to radio, I said, guys, like, we're going in the wrong direction here. I'm spending more and more money on radio, doing more and more shows. So my budget went from $5,000 a year to $30,000, $40,000 a year. I feel like my ads are getting more and more expensive per ad. Meanwhile, the reach is getting less and less per ad. And like, help make it make sense. Help me figure this out. Like, how can we keep this relationship going? Because even like for me to get like approvals on my commercials and stuff would take a week, 2 weeks sometimes. And I'm like, I need this to air now. I got to go. So everything just came with a lot of friction and red tape around it. And I literally said to them, like, yo, like, don't make me find out what it takes to do a show without you guys. Like, don't let it be the reason, like, you taking long and me just deciding to go and try something else. Don't let the reason be on you. Make me say I'm no longer going to deal with radio, because I'm right now, I don't think I need you, but it's like almost like if it ain't broke, don't fix it type thing. Every campaign I did, I spent X amount on radio. So I was afraid to not spend that money on radio. And I'm like, I'm telling you guys, I'm afraid. Don't let me get over my fear by not having you guys because you're not doing your job properly. And then once I run through a process with no radio, I'm good. And that's exactly what happened. I ran a campaign. It was actually a White Yardie campaign. The first Straight Outta Jamaica show that we did in Toronto. That was the first time I didn't run any radio ads, and the first time I sold a show out without running any radio ads. I said, oh, okay.
I don't think radio figured out the pivot. I don't think they were ready for the onslaught of social media. Like, you got Instagram, TikTok. Heck, people are even advertising stuff now on LinkedIn. You know what I mean? And all these different platforms. Yeah. And radio just stuck in the one bubble, the one lane.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, that's why podcasting is, I think, put a stranglehold on radio.
For sure.
Like, really. You know what I mean? You can bring a radio type of interview to a podcast and have more effect with it.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
Because you put the video and the audio behind it.
And even the radio guys that I was speaking to, encouraging them to put their content online and push forward and embrace new platforms. They're still behind. they're still behind. I've been talking about this, bro. It's the same thing that we like, the social media guys that are doing stand up, and everybody hated on the social media guys. Now they're getting more stand up numbers than most of the best stand ups in the world, and they're developing their skills more and more as a stand up, even though they had an audience from day one, and they're getting paid way more than most people just starting out would get paid. Now they're seasoned, right? It's the same type of thing with that podcast thing. Oh yeah, that streaming thing. Yeah, whatever. We're the radio guys. We went to school for this. We've been on the air for how many years? This is what we do. All right, cool. One by one, y'all disappear, and that's
so true.
So I don't. I like me. My beef is with all radio, regardless of I don't have to meet you. I didn't have to ever set foot in your station. You come from an industry that has a dinosaur school of thought, and I definitely don't. I'm modern thinking. I'm trying to move quickly, and I'm trying to do different things. So it's like me and you automatically, I don't think we see eye to eye. So I don't really press there. Yeah. I have that same feeling against a lot of people that have degrees and masters and stuff too. You know, like
another podcast. Maybe.
It's like if that's their first thing that they tell me, if that's their claim to fame, if that's at the top of their resume, I'm like, all right, me and you probably won't vibe, because I don't care what you did in school. Who are you as a person? You know what I mean? If what it is that you've accomplished to give you some sort of title that you think now defines you is the first thing, or one of the first things you tell me about yourself, the chances are me and you don't have a whole lot to talk about, dude.
I can agree with you there, because it's like people that are going to school for like business. I'm like, why are you doing it? There's so many courses you could do, like learning financial literacy. You can do that through Google, documentations, YouTube, podcasts, but they don't teach it in school.
No,
and that's the number one thing they should be teaching in
Correct.
school. You know what I mean?
Correct.
But it's like y'all are wasting time and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Here's what I would ask you
What's up?
before we get out of here is, with everything that it is that you're doing, because I know you don't sleep. I sometimes I wake up and it looks like you just going to bed.
Yeah.
Where do you find the time to sleep, my man? Or you just sleep in between the winks? What is that?
To be honest, sleep is super, super important, and I have to always try to put that underlying message within all my hustle stuff that I post and all that, because like, I don't know if you can hear my voice, but I'm just getting over something right now. I'm 3/4 of the way to recovery, and your body will tell you when you're not doing enough for your body really quickly. So I try my very best to sleep at least 4 to 5 hours a night, and then maybe even take a nap at a different period of time. It just seems to other people that I'm never sleeping or that I'm always working is because the way that my schedule works. So if I sleep 5 hours, it might be from like 2 in the morning to 7 in the morning, or I might take a nap for 2 hours from 2 in the morning to 4 in the morning, get up and be up at 4 in the morning work all the way to 2 in the afternoon, and then sleep from 2 in the afternoon to like 5 in the evening. And no one thinks like, oh, he's just working all the time. It seems that way, but I try. And the other thing too is when my body is not operating the way that it's supposed to, due to either lack of sleep or lack of nourishment, if I'm not eating properly, I can feel the shift in my body. I know when I'm not dealing with myself properly, and I try to immediately dial it back. So I have 2 green juice in the fridge. I have my sea moss and them thing there. I have my multivitamins. As soon as I feel like, yo, something needs to change, I'm like, okay, hold up. You know what? Let me go cook something. Let me go. Like, I can't keep ordering this Uber Eats or whatever. Okay, you know what? Let me take a nap. Let me sleep. Or it's like Monday when I felt like after Yardie left on Monday night. Tuesday I slept for 3/4 of the day. That one day I sacrificed the entire day, and I said, you know what? I think I woke up at 5 in the morning, and I went back to sleep at like 10 in the morning, and I slept right till like 5 in the evening. I'm like, this is what I need right now, you know. So nice. I find the time to sleep because I listen to my body. It's just I think on average, I might require a little less sleep than other people. I can survive on 4 hours a night for a month and have it not really affect me. But the second that it does, I pay attention and I make sure that, like, you know, like I'm not. Although we have a brain and thought and choice, your body has its own way of doing things, and if you are in tune with it, it will tell you what you need to be doing. You know what I mean?
Facts, and it plays into how I want to conclude the podcast. What can you tell the audience? Everything you say about sleep, business, management, you know, advertising, how to become 1% better in your day-to-day craft.
For
the people that are watching,
put me on the spot. How to become 1% better.
Yes, sir.
Self-awareness. In order to get better, you have to know where you're at. And that's probably, of all the things that people think that I might be talented at or good at, I don't think I have talents. I really don't think I'm a talented person. I think my intelligence level is like, average, but self-awareness is on 100. And being self-aware allows me to make the improvements and make the adjustments beyond my natural abilities as a person, which can put me in a realm amongst the most intelligent. That could put me in a realm amongst the most talented, because I'm never delusional about who I am and what I'm able to accomplish. And I ask the people around me to check me all the time. I get arrogant as hell in my head about anything that I'm super confident at because I put in the work. But even in my arrogance, even in my confidence, I'm like, but you agree, right? How do you feel? If someone comes against me, like especially my friends, someone comes against me with another opinion, I'm gonna argue my opinion because I think that I'm right. But after the argument is like kind of like over, whatever, my goal at that point in time is to prove that I'm right based off of the knowledge that I have. But once it's kind of simmers down, I take a second to reflect on what they said, and then I ask them even more questions about what they said, whatever. And sometimes, even though I just won the argument because they gave up, I'm like, you know what, you were right. You know what I mean?
No, I like that. No, that's a good answer.
So self-awareness is definitely in all realms a place where you can improve that 1% continuously. Reflect on yourself and never think that you've grown enough or you've learned enough.
Man, oh man, real rap. I love it.
Respect,
I love it. Where can everybody check out to get tickets? You know what I mean? Because you gotta plug that information.
For sure.
You know what I mean? And your social media and whatnot.
Yeah, man. For tickets for the tour, you can go to www.whiteyardie.com. For anything West Hype, it's www.westhype.com. That's the tour stuff. That's the merch. That's the games. That's whatever I come up with tomorrow and decide to put on the website. Westhype.com and at Westhype, WESHYPE on all social media platforms.
Beautiful, my man. I appreciate you. And I'll see you
Yeah,
at the
man.
tour.
Big up yourself. Thanks for this.